Action.
Matinee prices water. Matinee prices setup. Matinee prices. So I guess
here we go.
I guess this is where you are and where we are. We're at Matinee prices.
This is where we are now, but back in, what was it, June or July?
Yes.
Herocon?
Oh yeah, Herocon. Yeah, way back June.
So back in June, we went to Herocon. Still got my press badge. We went to Herocon. It was my first ever comic book convention. It was Huru's 500th?
5,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was my first one. It was awesome. So right now we're gonna show you some of the cool stuff we saw at Herocon. So let's roll that clip, Johnny Gilbert.
Said you had to go away. Why did you leave? Did I do something wrong? Well, you took my heart and you took my car. You left me stranded all alone at the bar. Baby, I miss you, and I miss that car so much more. But she had bucket seats and shiny rims, racing stripes and big old bills. Windows were loud, tires were white. See you beam and I shouted be through the night. Well, here I sit, and though my heart is heavy, 'cause you done stole my 58 Chevy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cherry red, yeah, she sure was nice. She's my best friend, don't you dare act blind. Passed down from my daddy to me on the day that I turned 16. And now she's gone and she's never coming back. And all the blue skies have been painted black. Well, here I sit, and these are the words that I say.
Okay. We'll get on that one?
Yeah.
Wait, we should probably... I forgot we were going to do that because we don't have the names anymore of the people. I mean, we'll put them up there.
Yeah, we can do that afterwards.
Okay.
And we're back.
Hey, we're back.
So that was Herocon. As you can see, there were a lot of cool costumes, a lot of cool people. You might have seen C. Martin Croker in that little montage we did. He did voices for Space Ghost Coast to Coast, among many other shows. He passed away. He passed away this year, sometime probably like soon after Comic-Con. Like it was in the past couple of months.
Yeah.
So give a little shout out to C. Martin Croker. Yeah. He was, I think, Moltar, Zorak, and Brack. And I think he wrote and produced the episodes as well. He was a great voice actor, which is something we're going to be talking about in this episode. So glad we got a little shot of him in there. He did some great voices. If you're a fan of Space Ghost Coast to Coast, you probably know him, but you might not have known that he passed away. So C. Martin Croker, you were awesome. You were an awesome dude who did awesome voices for an awesome cartoon.
For an awesome cartoon. There's a lot of people that passed away, of which, if you're watching this, I'm sure you're well aware of. And we're gonna get to that. We'll probably get to that like the very next episode, because it's a show's worth of talented people that we've lost this year.
It's been a horrible year.
It's been tough.
It's not just like celebrities or movie stars that we've lost. It's like, honest to God, cultural icons. People who changed
it's tough.
entertainment, and we we'll get into it more on our next episode. But Carrie Fisher recently passed away. Princess Leia is up in the stars. We'll talk about that.
We'll get more into that. Yeah,
we just wanted to acknowledge it, and we haven't forgotten about it. We're going to talk about that in a future episode. But in this episode, we are going to be talking about one of Carrie Fisher's co-stars from the movie Star Wars, which is Mark Hamill. This is our Mark Hamill episode. If you followed the show, which I'm sure you have, like all of our fans are loyal, ravenous fans who watch and DVR every episode. And so you know that we've given special episodes to Peter Dinklage and Jeffrey Combs, and tonight we're continuing that tradition with
another white person.
Yeah, quite the thing we got.
Yeah. It was like I just realized that we're gonna work on that in the new year too.
I'd say Peter Dinklage counts as a minority.
No.
Nope.
Well, don't worry. I'll change that.
Right.
I'll get right on that. Trust me. But today,
I mean, he probably didn't have an easy life.
Yeah, well, all right, fine. But like I said, well, I'll take care of that in the coming future.
And I think Mark Hamill's grandmother was Jewish. Again, maybe not enough for you, but there you go. Or Lithuanian or something. But
Lord,
there you go.
Yes. All right, Lithuanian. I will give you that. No, I won't give you that. So we're doing. What are we doing? Comic Book the movie?
In honor of Comic-Con. Like I said, it was my first comic book convention, but when I was there, it reminded me of a really great movie that I love from 2004 called Comic Book the Movie. Written, produced, directed by, and starring Mark Hamill. And
he might be a big movie star in the future.
He might be.
He might be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's going places.
He's going places.
Yeah, he's got that it factor. Mark Hamill, we're both big nerds, and I say Mark Hamill might be the ultimate nerd because he hits the trifecta, meaning science fiction, comic books, and cartoon voice acting. For me, that's kind of the trifecta of nerddom.
Okay.
Because he wrote that comic book, The Black Pearl.
Yep.
And he's a huge comic book fan, and amazing voice actor, and the king of sci-fi, in my opinion, because he was Luke freaking Skywalker. So
Harrison Ford would probably be
the
because
of sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
Because of Blade Runner. Also.
Yeah. Blade Runner gives him the one more.
Yeah. But you don't see Harrison Ford going to comic conventions. And,
that's
stuff
true.
Like
that's
that.
true.
So,
that's true.
So
all right, back to
Mark Hamill embraces it way more.
We'll give him the crown for right now. Yeah.
So, Comic Book the Movie, 2004. This movie is a mockumentary about a comic book called Commander Courage, which is it's just a stand-in comic for Captain America. They obviously couldn't use Captain America, so they created a comic book for this movie called Commander Courage. But it was the same thing. He was invented in the 40s. He whooped up on Hitler, and that was your comic. So the movie is, this big studio is going to make a Commander Courage movie, and they hire Mark Hamill on as the character he's playing. He's not playing himself. They hire him on as a technical consultant for the film, so they send him to San Diego Comic-Con to shoot some footage and stuff and to build up hype for the movie. This movie is a mockumentary. If you're fans of movies like Spinal Tap, The Life and Times of Guy Terrifico, Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show,
What We Do in the Shadows.
What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of mockumentaries, you should see this movie if you haven't already. It's pretty much largely improvised, and they shot it at Comic-Con in San Diego, the big daddy of comic book conventions. They shot most of the movie at Comic-Con while Comic-Con was happening around them. So
Comic book convention movie.
Yeah. And all these people, all these comic book writers and actors and stuff are in the movie in these little cameos as themselves. People like Mike Mignola, Ron Perlman, Matt Groening, Bruce Campbell, Stan Lee. They all have little bit parts in the movie. But to me, my favorite part of this movie was the fact that the main cast and supporting cast is made up of cartoon voice actors. And I am a huge fan of cartoon voice actors. Your Tress MacNeil's, Frank Frank Welker's, Mark Hamill. The list goes on. And this movie is littered with cartoon voice actor royalty. And so instead of going too much into I've told you about the movie, what it was. It's great. It's just a love letter to comic books and the fans of comic books and the people who make comic books. But what I want to sell you on is this amazing cast, because you get to see what some of your favorite cartoon voice actors look like, which is something you don't get to see much, because these people work behind the microphone. So this is who is in this movie. Billy West. He was Fry in Futurama. He's been in Batman the Brave and the Bold. Cat Dog, Ben 10. He was the voice of Stimpy on Ren and Stimpy. He's done voices for Pinky and the Brain, Kid Notorious, and King of the Hill. He's awesome. Jess Harnell has done voices for Doc McStuffins, Pound Puppies, Billy and Mandy drawn together, and most famously, he was Wacko on the Animaniacs, and he has a really big part in Comic Book the Movie, and he's hilarious. Lori Allen from SpongeBob SquarePants, Family Guy. She was the voice of Diane Simmons, the newscaster on Family Guy. She's also done voices for Hey Arnold and Angry Beavers. Darren Norris from Fairly Odd Parents. He does some on-camera stuff. He plays Johnny Frost on iZombie and Cliff McCormick on Veronica Mars. He is the voice of Spotswood from Team America World Police and Jack Smith on American Dad. Another one, this guy is one of my favorites, Tom Kenny. If you were a fan of Mr. Show with Bob and David, he is the blonde, glasses-wearing, Buddy Holly-looking dude. You'd know him if you've seen him. But he is the voice of SpongeBob SquarePants. He's the voice of the Ice King on Adventure Time. He's done voices on Trip Tank, Rick and Morty, Boondocks, Futurama. And on Star Wars The Clone Wars, he is the voice of Tan Devo and Newt Gunray. And he was the narrator and the mayor on Powerpuff Girls. He was also the Penguin in the Batman. The Batman. Yeah. Gary Anthony Williams is another one. Love this dude. Boondocks, American Dad, China, Illinois, and he's another one who gets a lot of on-camera work. He was the kid in the wheelchair on Malcolm in the Middle. I can never remember his name. Davey.
Oh yeah. He was his dad.
He was his dad.
Yep.
He was in Harold and Kumar. He's been on Key and Peele.
Uncle Ruckus.
Reno 911, and he played Smart Brother in Undercover Brother. Arlene Sorkin. This lady only has one credit, but it's all you need to know. Arlene Sorkin is Harley Quinn. She has been Harley Quinn in every animated series that had Harley Quinn in it. Arlene Sorkin was Harley Quinn.
Wow.
That character exists because she gave it that great voice, and that was invented for the animated series.
Which was like 92 or 93.
92, yeah. And she still plays Harley Quinn today in all the animated series and video games, everything. Arlene Sorkin.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I don't realize 92. That's when that
24 years ago
show aired, and she's been the only. Even Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, they
have taken breaks.
They have breaks, and there have been other Batman voices and other Joker voices. She is Harley Quinn. She's been the Harley Quinn the whole time.
Yep.
Jeez.
And she is the I mean, that was an interesting character the way it was written and presented, but her voice, that Mr. J.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of Archie Bunker's wife, kind of Edith Bunker-esque, but she's one of the great cartoon characters of all time. Debbie Derryberry has done, that's a silly name, she's done voices on Sailor Moon, Monster High, Curious George, and she was Wednesday Addams on the Addams Family animated series. Kevin Michael Richardson, this is another one. This guy is royalty.
Yeah.
He's Groot on Guardians of the Galaxy, the animated series. He's been on The Simpsons. He's Principal Lewis on American Dad. He's Jerome on Family Guy. He's Maurice in The Penguins of Madagascar, the TV series. He's Lester Crinklesack, the white trash redneck dude on the Cleveland Show. And he's Jabba the Hutt on Star Wars The Clone Wars. He's also done voices for Ben 10 and the Proud Family. Tara Strong played Batgirl in The Killing Joke. We're going to get to that in a minute. Robot Chicken, Rick and Morty, Uncle Grandpa, Kim Possible, and she's Raven on Teen Titans. Phil Morris. Most of you would know Phil Morris as Jackie Childs from Seinfeld, but he's done some voices for Danny Phantom and the PJs, Be Cool Scooby-Doo. And his credits go back all the way to 227, Webster, Knight Rider, and Cheers. So this guy's been acting since the 80s, and he is awesome. But most of you know him as the shady lawyer from Seinfeld. And Paul Dini is in Comic Book the Movie as himself.
Yep.
Paul Dini is... What can I say? I just
one of the
made a little tiny bit of his
Batman,
writing credits.
Yeah.
And this guy has written for Batman, the animated series, The Batman, Justice League, Static Shock, Clerks, the animated series, Pinky and the Brain, Freakazoid, Family Dog, He-Man, and Dungeons and Dragons. So this guy goes all the way back.
I love Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. So that's just a list of some of the people who are in Comic Book the Movie. Again, if you're a fan of cartoon voice acting, you have to see it just to see what some of your favorite voice actors look like. And one more thing I want to say about Comic Book the Movie is it has one of the best little Easter egg cameo things ever. There's a scene where Mark Hamill, he's got his lunch, he's trying to find a place to sit, all the tables are full, and he's exasperated, he just wants to get off his feet, and he goes to sit at a table, and there are these three guys sitting at the table, and they like shoo him away, like they don't want him to sit with them. And the three guys at the table are Peter Mayhew, Chewbacca, David Prowse, who was the man in the Vader costume in all the Star Wars movies, and Jeremy Bulloch, who played Boba Fett.
Yeah.
So you got a scene with all of them together for a minute.
Yeah.
So it's like this movie was just Mark Hamill got his friends and people he knew in the industry to come out and do this little movie for him, probably for no money. There are tons of like comic book artists and writers playing themselves. Like I said, it's
tell them about Jonathan Winters.
And Jonathan Winters and Sid Caesar also put in a little cameo in this movie.
Was it Sid Caesar or Herocon?
Sid Caesar.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure both of those men have since passed away. In fact, I'm sure they have. So this might be one of the last on-screen performances that either of those guys ever did. They play these two whacked-out old guys in a rest home that he goes to visit, and they're on screen for maybe 3 minutes, and it is hilarious.
Because it's Jonathan Winters and Sid Caesar.
And Sid Caesar.
Freaking your show of shows.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
That's you talk about royalty.
Going way back, yeah. And again,
legends.
they probably did it because Mark Hamill, I mean, I've met the guy. Mark Hamill is literally just, you know, when you hear stories about, it's like, oh, he's really nice in real life, and you're like, is he though?
Yeah.
Mark Hamill is.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill will sit and talk to you about Star Wars. He will talk to you about voicing the Joker. He is the sweetest man. He does a lot of charity work. He's a writer. He wrote a comic book called The Black Pearl back in the 90s. He's a fantastic human being, and I'm a huge fan. He's one of the reasons why Star Wars is my favorite movie, and he is legit one of my favorite actors. And he's still doing great things today. So, Mark Hamill, Comic Book the Movie, check it out. You will not be disappointed. It's hilarious. And like I said, I had never really read comic books growing up. I had never been to a comic book convention. This movie is still like on my list of like great, underrated, under the radar films of the last, 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
I love it. It's one of the reasons that I got into comic books or comic book movies. And it was made at a time before all this stuff started to happen.
Yeah.
When Comic Book the Movie was made, you had...
What year was it made?
2000. Well, it came out in 2004. They shot it in 2003.
Okay.
So you had like the first two Spider-Mans, Hellboy, and I think the first two X-Men.
Right.
And that's all you had. It was before all this started to happen. So check it out, Comic Book the Movie. It's amazing. That's my lock of the week. And now Huru is going to talk about another Mark Hamill performance in The Killing Joke.
It's weird. We, in honor of like the comic-based show that we're doing, like cameras got on, and you didn't have to do that. We could just flash it up.
Well, it's already done.
He's got his Batman T-shirt, and of course, us being who we are, what I have is Abed from Community dressed as Batman. So I figured just slightly, I'm like, yeah, it's Batman, but it's Community and whatever.
We're talking about nerdy stuff, so you gotta throw Abed.
So I gotta throw Abed in there.
Yeah.
You've heard us talk about Community, but The Killing Joke. This is an interesting topic or subject because The Killing Joke is based on a graphic novel that DC put out in like 1988. So even before the animated series and before,
And it was just a one-off.
and it was a one-off
Yeah.
thing. And so since then, so this year they decided to not just animate it, because nearly all of their animations go direct to video. The only ones that have been released are
Mask of the Phantasm.
Mask of the Phantasm, which was 94, and 93, 94. And this one...
And the new one with Adam West and Burt Ward that they brought back got a little limited release.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah.
Okay, right on. So 3. And then this one, and this one, it was already controversial when it came out in graphic novel form in '88. So then this got a lot of the internet just a buzzing. It is the R-rated one.
It's the only R-rated Batman movie ever made. And it's a cartoon.
And it's a cartoon, and they released it, unlike nearly all of the others, released it out into the
theaters.
Only for like a couple of weeks.
And
max.
only in a handful of theaters.
Only a handful, like 1,300.
And it still managed to make a lot of money.
It supposedly will cost around $3.5 million, $3.5 million, and made 3 3/4, so like 3.7.
That was at the box office.
Right.
Yeah, that's not taking into like DVD
that's not
sales.
counting DVD sales. So the director of this is Sam Liu. DC has basically a stable of directors that they use, Jay Oliva and Brandon Vietti, and almost all the Justice League, Batman, Superman, all the animated stuff that they do. One of those guys is involved, if not all of them. And again, you have Mark Hamill as the Joker and Kevin Conroy as Batman, who have been doing it since 1992. Tara Strong, which he mentioned before, plays Batgirl. And in this one, the story is... the big thing is, and I could give you reasons, but I won't do that, is Joker shoots Batgirl, who was played by Commissioner Gordon's daughter, Barbara Gordon. And the thing was, that paralyzed her. So essentially, in 1988, DC basically killed Batgirl. Like, she was paralyzed and she just couldn't be Batgirl anymore.
Right.
She's in a wheelchair.
Didn't she become the Oracle
and
after
then,
that?
Well, after that, yeah. But it was sort of like, because on top of that, he took naked pictures of her.
To humiliate her.
her, and then try and snap Commissioner Gordon.
To use that to make her father go insane.
So it was controversial then, and then it becomes animated, and then full blown theatrical release. So it becomes controversial again all over.
Because they put this, they didn't cut any of that stuff out. Like all the stuff that made the graphic novel
in fact, they added stuff,
amped it up,
which was. Some people liked it, some people hated it. I thought it was worthwhile to show more of Barbara Gordon's life, both as herself
to get to see her in action,
as Batgirl.
I like that too.
To see her in her life, and I think you should see it. It's one of those things. Normally, I wouldn't recommend this, and it's very odd. It's one of the few times, if not the only time, I thought Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill weren't best suited for these roles.
Really?
You had a few other guys. John DiMaggio was in the Red Hood. He played the Joker. And Kevin Michael Richardson, who we've talked about, played him in The Batman. And these versions, Bruce Greenwood, the actor, if you remember the Admiral from Star Trek.
Or John from Cincinnati.
John from Cincinnati. Played Batman as well in another one. And those
you think they would have been better?
Were darker, not quite this dark because they weren't ours.
Okay,
but their roles being a darker version than Conroy's
and Hamill's.
Yeah, and Hamill's. Yeah. So having them, because they were for the longest time in the light-hearted versions.
Yeah.
Even their dark ones were still light-hearted.
Mask of the Phantasm got a
little bit, but they were still upbeat. You know. So normally, I watched it and I enjoyed it, but I'm also a huge comic book fan. I'm probably a bigger fan than he is.
Definitely is.
But I still enjoyed it, but I was like, I think they might have missed with this one, having the big guys.
I'd say maybe I would give you maybe replacing Kevin Conroy, but for me, Mark Hamill is the best Joker.
And for me,
he does that manic voice better than anyone else.
It's sort of like when you have like the best overall person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you've got, you know, you want Michael Jordan or you want LeBron James on your basketball team,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's a no-brainer. You
Yeah.
first pick, that's who you get.
Yeah.
But now you need a short, small, quick point guard.
So you're like, where's John Stockton?
Right, you know, or Steph Curry or
Yeah,
Rajon
Steph-
Rondo or
yeah,
somebody,
Steph Curry.
somebody who's just short and quick, and like you need somebody to dribble around who just can't be touched. And LeBron or Mike can't do that.
Yeah.
So this is
good
sort of
analogy.
when you get these. I think one of these guys would have been better.
Okay.
And normally, like I said before, I wouldn't recommend it. But on this one, the role and history of Barbara Gordon and Batgirl, both within the comics and now the way society is reflected upon it, both then and now, it's worth watching this just for that. Just so you know where we've been and how far we've come and what's happened. It's a really good story from you could say a feminist point of view. You could say from a comic book point of view, especially considering in comic book movies, it's $1 billion industry now. You know, just to put it lightly.
It puts a little, and it also, I would say, just from my limited knowledge of comic book movies and stuff, or comic books in general, this more than anything else tries to humanize the Joker a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Gives him a little bit of a backstory. They don't exactly show you everything, but they do kind of make you sympathize with him a little bit. It's
Right.
like he just had a crap life, and
Right.
he kind of became the Joker by default almost.
Right.
And so
If
you
you
get these similarities where Batman sees it's like, you know, we're not so different, you and I, kind of thing.
Exactly. If you recall the Keaton Jack Nicholson's
Tim
Joker,
Burton's
Tim Burton's Joker,
version.
had like a origin story,
Mhm.
and that was. What
80
was 80 around the
89.
same, around the same,
Yeah, because
around the same
apparently
time.
Tim Burton cited this as an inspiration.
As an inspiration. So then there's that version, there's this version, and then a couple of others. And then if you recall, Heath Ledger started telling stories about where he came from.
But he was
and they
yeah.
were different versions.
Yeah, so you don't know what
So
to
he's
believe.
quoting all these. This is one of the versions that he
That he was
quoted.
quoted,
you
yeah.
know, so because comic books are like that, and like, well, I'm going to do it this way, or well, I'll do it this way, and then I'll do it this way. So they just had Heath's version say all of them.
Yeah, and
You
it,
know,
it works as like a little shout out and an Easter egg, but it also
Exactly.
works on another level. If you don't know it, you just like, well, he's crazy.
He's
He's
crazy.
just making up backstories
Exactly.
for every situation he's
So
in.
it works
So you
either
never,
way.
so just to like emphasize how crazy he is.
But this is one of the better ones for a Joker origin story. It's also a really good one for Batgirl's demise, I guess you could say, Barbara Gordon's transition, and actually creation of a brilliant character, which would get into another topic. They brought Batgirl back just recently, but only after Barbara Gordon, as a wheelchair-bound character, grew and blossomed into this really great character. So it was really weird. People were upset now then that they crippled her, and she was humiliated, a lot of people say,
Right.
in that way. But then her character grew and became really strong in that role and in her situation. Then they nixed it and brought Barbara Gordon.
And now people are
Batgirl
upset
again.
that she's not in a wheelchair
Yeah,
anymore.
it's like, well, now you took all of this, so it's kind of like, which do you want, or which way do you want to go?
Can't please everybody.
Yeah, well, and they've got a valid point
Yeah.
to be upset.
Because you get used to it, and it's like it grows on you, and you're like, "Don't take it away." I was just
Right, it
starting
was
to
like,
dig it.
well, she took this struggle and this tragedy and became integral
Right.
again,
by using her brains,
right,
yeah.
and connections and just her spirit, and then they nixed it. So if you want to see that, you want to get on that. It's a really good story, especially for those characters' point of view. It's a really good conversation starter.
Yeah.
It's just really intriguing.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend that you check out The Killing Joke.
I did too. Really dug it.
Yeah.
It's a good one. So that's our Mark Hamill show, The Killing Joke, and Comic Book the Movie. Star Wars, obviously. We've got Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back here. He had a hilarious little cameo in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Mark Hamill's the man.
He is a man.
He is a man. He was in a wonderful episode of Amazing Stories. He was in Sam Fuller's World War II epic, The Big Red One.
He was in the original Flash, the television series,
As the Trickster.
yeah. Which is what got him the job as the Joker
on the animated series.
And the animated series, which Paul Dini basically helped create and blossom, which then grew into Justice League, where he played the Trickster.
Yeah.
As a cartoon Trickster. Yeah. So it was... It's
everything
perfect.
comes full circle.
Everything's connected.
And then when he makes Comic Book the movie, he asks Paul Dini, "Hey, you want to be a little cameo in my little comic book movie?" Paul Dini's like, "Of course I will."
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So Mark Hamill, love the guy. Like I said, he's just a sweet guy. And from all the people who put in little appearances in Comic Book the movie, you could see it that like these are just his friends that are like, "Yeah, I'll be in your movie." And it's wonderful, and the Killing Joke is wonderful, as is most things that he does. So Mark Hamill, raise a glass to Luke Skywalker and the Joker,
and Lando Calrissian.
Yeah. Why not? Yeah.
Donald Glover.
Yeah. Is Lando Calrissian. Yeah. So if you're a Star Wars fan or just a nerd, there's a lot to be excited for coming up. A lot to be excited about.
I'm still upset, and I'll get into that later, but. That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Having Childish Gambino be Lando. That's plus we're community fans. We're big fans of Donald Glover anyway.
Yeah.
So even from Mystery Team days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah.
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 So that's it.
We're gonna sign off and go somewhere. We
actually we have to run to the library to edit this episode. So
we're gonna go
so we can get into the TV station and get to it's crunch time, people. So, signing off, Mark Hamill, you're the man. And check us out next week on Matinee Prices.
Okay, later.
Keep watching movies.
Alright, real quick, while Cameron's not here, real quick story. As it turns out, the whole reason we got to take that trip to the comic book convention, a friend of mine, Brockton McKinney, who's an artist and was featured at the show, gave me free passes. I'm like, dude, you got free passes to the comic book convention. I was like, all right, sweet. And that's sort of what we built the whole trip around. As it turns out, he didn't mean the comic book convention that we went to. He meant a one in another city at another time. I didn't realize this. I just thought comic book convention must mean that one. So we went, and it was like a small difficulty in getting the passes, and we were like, why is that a problem? So then as we're leaving, Brockton McKinney then sends me a message like, hey, did you tell people that give me free passes? Like, yeah, didn't you? It's like, no, not this one, the other show. Like, oh. So quick apology to the people at Heroescon in Charlotte that we went to and had a great time. Heroescon, that's not Brockton's fault. It's not even Cameron's fault. He didn't know. That was my fault, and I just misinterpreted what convention we had the free passes to. So my apologies to everyone at Heroescon. Apologies to Brockton McKinney as well. Please don't view him negative in that light. That's my bad. We did have a great time though, and we'll come back. We'll pay next time that we come back. All right, cool. Again, sorry.
Yeah, I see you.
It's the Baxter Show.
It's the Baxter Show.